Hello and welcome to Ewe Sew You. My name's Zoe and this is my channel all about the crafty bits and pieces I get up to. I knit, I sew, I spin on a spindle, I dabble in weaving from time to time, and anything else that takes my crafty fancy. But today we're taking a look at what I've been working on in February, so grab a brew, put your feet up and let's get started. Welcome back to any returning viewers, and to any new viewers a very warm welcome to you. Now, as I mentioned at the opening to this video, we're taking a look at the things I've been working on in February this week. But before we do that, let's take a look at what I am wearing. So this is the Nina Lee South Bank sweater. This is the sweater length version. I've done it with the long sleeves, which are underneath my cardi here. And I've used the funnel neck that comes in the pattern. It's a really nice loose fitting sweater pattern. I've made the dress in a Ponte Roma, and I've made obviously this top version, and there will be other versions coming at some point. It's a little bit looser than I would use for like a base layer in like main layering with like multiple layers on top, but it's just right for underneath pinafores and dungarees if I had any dungarees, and I wear it quite a lot. So this is a stripy jersey that I got from Minerva. And there are more details about this project on my Minerva profile, so feel free to go and check that out once you've finished watching this video. And I'm wearing over that my modified Flax Light. So Flax Light is a sweater pattern by Tin Can Knits. It's the fingering weight version of the flax sweater. It knits up really quite quickly. It's got this nice garter stitch detail down the sleeves. I have modified it to use up leftovers from my Terra Nova sweater, so it's all in Knit Picks pure wool. The name of the line escapes me for the moment, so I'll pop that up on the screen. So this is all left over from that sweater, and I modified it to steek the sleeves so that the stripes on the sleeves and the body match up exactly without me having to guesstimate what to leave for the sleeve from the already leftover yarn. And I've steeped the front to turn it into a cardigan as well. This gets an awful lot of wear, to the point where I have depilled it 3 times already, and I leave it till it gets quite bad before I do it as well. So yeah, it's due another depilling shortly. So yeah, it gets a lot of wear, it gets worn to work, it gets worn around the house. It's a nice loose fit. I've done it quite long, so yeah, it's a good slouchy throw on over everything cardigan. So that's what I'm wearing, but let's take a look at finished objects, and I have to say there's not that many of them. Now, February is a shorter month, so obviously my productivity does tend to go down in February anyway. Couple that with the fact that I completely missed the sign-up date for Sock Madness this year. By the time I realised they were already halfway through the qualification round. So I don't have any Sock Madness socks to show you, which I would normally do at this point in the year. And then on top of that, I have been taking a little bit of a rest from big knitting crochet projects this month, because I've got a bit of a problem with my elbow at the moment. It's been very sore throughout sort of tail end of January into February. It's not so bad now, it's still achy, but it's not so bad. And I think it's finishing up that Sophie's Universe blanket, which is a huge heavy blanket because I did it in Aran Right yarn. I haven't yet weighed the blanket, but I will at some point to work out how much yarn I used. But because I was determined to get it finished in January, I was probably working on it for longer stints than I should have done, and the sort of lifting up and round has done a number on my elbow. So I've taken a back seat with the knitting and the crochet for a bit and focused on other things, which is fine. I will probably cast on a pair of socks or something soon, because it's always good to have them around. So the only knitting that I have done in February is I knitted a pair of feet. Sock feet. I am calling them feet rather than socks because I've put the cuff on directly after doing the heel. So I did a shorter heel and then just like 2 rows of stocking stitch before I put the cuff on. So they do sit very low at the back. That may or may not have been a mistake. We will see. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add them into my stock pile, my stock, and see how much I reach for them once the weather warms up. I only have one other pair of shorties that I've knit, and they are a bit longer. So I'm going to see which one I reach for more. So I don't normally knit shorties, so I'm not totally sure on where I want them to be. I do want more shorties so that I can wear my hand knit socks in summer months. British summers are not usually hot. We get the occasional super hot day like we did last year with 40 degrees centigrade. But normally they're fairly mild, so socks do get worn in the summer. So yeah, I want to get some more shorties knit up, but I'm having a little bit of an experiment with how long I want those shorties to be. If these don't get reached for very much, if they turn out to be too short, if they don't like stay over my heel, I'll just undo the cast off and knit the cuff a bit longer. So yeah, so that's those. So finished object number 1. And finished object number 2 is my blue dress cross stitch. So this was a DMC kit. You can see it's not long out of the hoop. So it needs a press, it needs finishing off at the back, it needs framing to get it up on the wall. But it is all stitched. So I'll bring that a little bit closer to the camera so you can see it. So this kit came with the outline of the woman printed on the fabric as well as the colours of the dress. So you stitch over the print on the fabric. It does come with a matching chart, so you can recreate the dress on another bit of fabric and then add in your own outline of a woman, I suppose. But because the way that the fabric is printed, you don't really follow the chart for the stitching. It's more of a sort of indication of where you might want to change your colours and where you might want to put the back stitch on. But the main thing that you're doing is following the print on the fabric and matching the colours up to that. So it's a nice, simple cross stitch. It would be good for beginners. I have used a few half stitches and quarter stitches in here, but you could do it entirely in full crosses. So if you're a beginner cross stitch person, this line of patterns, because there's about 4 of them I think, all these women in these fabulous dresses, and they're all DMC kits, they're all done the same way. If you've never done a cross stitch before, you'd be able to do this. So yes, I'm really pleased with that. So I'm going to get that finished and framed, so I put it up on the wall in the craft room. And yeah, then move on to another one at some point. I do have my library cat cross stitch, the larger cross stitch, which I haven't touched in ages, in the hoop, so that obviously needs attention. But at some point I will probably pick up another one of those DMC kits and get a little line of them, because I think they'll look really good in the craft room. So that's my finished objects for February. So not so many this month, but you know, that's fine. Sometimes it's good to just sort of take your foot off the gas a little bit and slow down with these things. So in terms of works in progress, I've been focusing more on sewing for obvious reasons, but also because the projects that I'm working on, I'm focusing on getting a better fit and finish. So I'm slowing down my pace of sewing to improve the outcome of the project. The first one I've been working on is the Birdie Button Up, which is a Pattern Scout pattern. I do think I've made a Pattern Scout pattern before during Sew My Style a couple of years ago. It was a cardigan. I'm going to say Luna or Lula, something like that. I'll put the name on the screen. So this is the Birdie Button Up. This is my toile. I chose this polycotton because I don't really use polycotton, but I have some in stash left over from when I was making scrubs during lockdown for the NHS. So I have quite a bit and no real use for it other than like the occasional lining or toiling things. But I figured grey's quite a forgiving colour for me. So if it fits okay, then I can use it as a wearable toile. There are adjustments that I need to make to this to make the final one fit properly. Most of them are ones that I can live with and could wear it with. One of them is making me go, not sure this is going to work as a wearable toile. But I'll give more details about that in the toiling the Birdie Button Up video that's coming up in a week or two, once I get it edited. So yeah, so this is the toile. I haven't bothered to put buttons or hem it because I don't need to if I'm checking the fit. You can pin the button bands shut, and actually until you've got the fit right, there's no point in putting the buttons on because the fit will affect where you want to put the buttons. Don't just blindly follow where the pattern says to put them. It may not work quite right for your shape. So that's the toile done, and I've made the adjustments to the pattern, and I have cut out the pattern in this lovely mustard 100% rainy fabric from Minerva. This is a Minerva Ambassadors project, so they've sent me the pattern, the fabric for free in return for me doing a post on their website. So obviously once this is sewn up, that'll be going up there. So this is the next thing that's going to get sewn up in the next couple of days. I need to mark the notches and the darts and that kind of thing first. I think I've got enough of this fabric left for one of my Make 9 projects. So let's move into plans. This fabric is a nice stable woven fabric. It's a nice summery colour, and when I was picking out fabrics and things and patterns, I was thinking ahead towards the warmer months. So the hand sewn garment that I want to make out of this fabric, if I have enough, I think I do. I need to trace the pattern and hold it against the fabric and check. Is the March top. So the March top by Helen's Closet. It's a top and dress pattern, and there's a couple of different views for the top. I'm thinking of doing the straight peplum version. Peplums, I have a little bit of I like the idea of them, but where they hit on me is not necessarily where I want the extra flounciness to be. So, although I have a peplum cardigan, which was the other pattern pattern that I've made, I'm not so sure about making the hand sewn garment as a peplum garment. So I'm going to put that amount of time and energy and effort into hand sewing a garment. I want it to be something I'm actually going to reach for and wear. So I'm going for the straight peplum instead. So it'll be more of a t-shirt kind of shape. And I'm planning to embroider on it as well. So I need to get that pattern traced and cut out so that I can then interface and embroider on the front and back panels. So I've got the line drawing up here. If you look at the centre front and the centre back, there's this panel that curves in and runs down from the shoulders down to the centre. So I'm going to do some embroidery on that before I put the garment together. I'm thinking I may also do some embroidery on the bands that go around the bottom of the sleeves. I'm hoping to be able to get full length sleeves out of what I've got left. They may need to be shorter, but we'll see what fabric is there once I've got the pattern traced. So that's plan number 1. Plan number 2, I have the toile cut out ready to sew up. So that'll be getting sewn up as soon as I finish the birdie shirt. And that is the Butterick 6018. I think that's the number. Vintage dress, which I will also be putting up on the screen. I have had to make quite a lot of pre-fit adjustments to this pattern, because although I got the larger pattern size range, being a big 5 pattern and not an indie pattern, despite being essentially average sized, I top out of a lot of commercial patterns, which is annoying. At least it's an easier fix than it is with knitting. There's a lot less maths involved to go up a size in a dress making pattern than in a knitting pattern, but seriously, average size. It's frustrating. But yeah, it's a lovely dress pattern. I haven't ironed it for quite a long time. So yeah, so I've scaled up the pattern in the areas that it needed scaling up, because big 5 patterns, they do tend to put a bit of ease in that's possibly more than is strictly speaking necessary. So I haven't had to do a blanket increase across the whole of the pattern, but there are areas where I've had to grade it out. But again, I'll be doing a video on toiling that dress and making that dress up, and some of the techniques that I use when I'm making up the final one as well. So keep your eye out for those. I haven't touched my pegloom weaving this month. Again, elbow. It's quite weaving can be quite hard on the old elbow and things. So particularly with the pegloom. So I've left that to one side until my elbow's feeling a little bit better, but that's fine. We've got a functional mat, it's just not quite as big as we'd like it to be. So yeah, I'm adjusting something that we're already using, so that's not a problem. I also have a frame loom weaving project planned that I will be doing as a weave with me, so keep your eye out for that as well later in the year. So yeah, so I've got all sorts of plans lined up. I've got fabric for another pair of Mitchell trousers waiting to be cut out. I've got some fabric on the way for some more Minerva projects and knit fabrics. There'll be some nice quick projects to work up, because knit fabrics are. So yeah, so there's lots of sewing lined up. There's a bit of weaving lined up. Once my elbow is feeling a bit better, I will get back to my sweater that's on the needle, and The sweaters that I've got planned on my Make 9, that kind of thing, will be later in the year. I am going to try, as I say, with some socks and see if my elbow can take a little bit of light knitting, a bit of light crochet, get some of my crochet squares done, because I really want to get my Gamer Crafting blanket finished this year. So if I can get all the squares done before the winter, that'll be good. So yeah, so I've got plans. Just going to see how it goes a little bit. I haven't even spun either, because spinning on a spindle and elbow. But yeah, as I say, it's on the mend, so we should be able to get back to that soon. We'll try things out and just see how it goes. I may need to knit for shorter stints than I normally would, that kind of thing. So actually missing out on sock madness this year, probably not a bad thing. Okay, so that's all I have for you this week. If you've enjoyed spending time in my company, you may also like the video that is up on the screen now, and I will see you next time. But until then, happy crafting and bye-bye for now.